Hey everybody, welcome back to this live episode of Think Business. I'm really looking forward to talking with Gino Wickman. I'm going to say a bit of a legend in the industry. I don't think you would say that about yourself, Gino, but I will. We're going to talk a little bit about EOS later, but I really want to jump into this. Your latest venture, which is the creator of Entrepreneurial Leap and Entrepreneurial Leap. And what I was really excited to talk to you about is, of course, just see you catch up. It's been about 5.5 years since we've seen each other. But, with COVID hitting, Gino, pre-COVID studies were showing that by the year 2030, 85% of the jobs that exist do not exist today. Pre-COVID studies were also showing that 75% of the global workforce will be millennials by 2025, and that by 2027, 50% of the workforce will be freelancers. To me, and I'd love your opinion, I think COVID accelerated all of that and will sprout many more entrepreneurs than even the people who thought they were not entrepreneurs will start to evolve. And so talk a little bit about, what an entrepreneur looks like today.
Yeah, you bet. Well, on that, I'm not a predictor of the future. So if you're looking for some Nostradamus predictions, you're not going to get those from me. But I certainly have some opinions. And where I would start is, with this new book I've launched, I'm definitely in the right place at the right time with what's going on, because I could not agree with you more that this time is going to spawn many, many incredible entrepreneurs, just like 08 and 09 did, so out of crises, entrepreneurs are born. And I really look forward to talking about why that is and the traits that exist and where they're bubbling for these people that finally take their entrepreneurial leap. And so 100%, that is what's going to happen out of this if history repeats itself. I love looking back at history. I'm not, interested in predicting the future. With that said, in terms of the predictions about, careers and what they're going to look like 10 years from now, I mean, that's gone on forever. And again, I'm not great at quoting perfect statistics, but let's look at agriculture. Okay. In agriculture, 150 years ago, it's like 90% of us were in agriculture. And now it's like 2 or 3% of us. Everything changes. And so I have this entrepreneurial historic belief. I call it the things that change and the things that don't change in 1,000 years of entrepreneurial history. And very quickly, I talk about how the things that are ever changing are products and services and the methods of which we communicate. And the things that never change are that people will always have wants and needs. And the people that have wants and needs, we have to persuade them. And if you understand that basic premise, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant, the career, the product, the service. You just have to keep evolving to whatever the world is throwing at you. And, right now there's a strong demand for Zoom conferencing. So they were in the right place at the right time. When, go back 10 years ago, there wasn't so much of that going on. So everything kind of changes. I don't know if that answers it, but unfortunately, I don't have any predictions for the future for you.
Yeah, well, I wasn't necessarily looking for predictions other than what the entrepreneur looks like today. Is it the person who is in sales and is thinking, I could start my own business? Is it the person who's been kind of working at a corporate job for 10 years and thinking, God, I've hit a ceiling, I'm burnt out? Is it somebody who just has a lot of creativity and ideas in them? What does the entrepreneur of today look like? And then how do they take that first step, which, you define as a leap?
That's great. Yeah. So now I get what you're asking. And my answer to your question is yes, 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 and yes. It's all of those people.
Right.
I'm going to come at it from a little different direction because I wrote this book in 3 parts. It's called Confirm, Glimpse, and Path. And there's a very purposeful reason I wrote it in that linear fashion, because first and foremost, you have to confirm whether or not you even have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And so I will tell you, in answering your question, yes, yes, and yes, It's less about what they're currently doing because they're doing all of those things. It's literally an 8-year-old in 5th grade right now, all the way to a 65-year-old that just retired, and all of those things in between that you talked about. But the common denominator with all of the entrepreneurs of the last 200 years is they all have 6 essential traits. And so I start the book with confirm because first and foremost, I want you to confirm that you have these traits. And very quickly, what are they? They are visionary, passionate, problem solver, driven, risk taker, and responsible. And if you have those, and there's an assessment I offer on the website that you can take, and if you get a 90 or higher, odds are you have those 6 essential traits. And I'm starting there. And unfortunately, I'm giving some of you a little bit of a punch in the gut and bad news, because if you don't have these 6 essential traits, odds are I'm going to save you from 10 years of hell, because being an entrepreneur is really hard. And so I'm not going to lather the world up and motivate them all to become entrepreneurs, because I don't believe everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. I believe it's 4% of the population. And my goal is to help find them, help you realize that that's what you are. But yes, absolutely talk some of you out of it. I mean, that is truly my goal, to avoid that pain.
But let me ask you a question. Some people are an entrepreneur, a solopreneur. Some people are an entrepreneur and have some of these traits, but need a business partner that have the other traits and then come together. So just kind of talk about the different variations. Because I think as somebody listening to this, whether it's now or in the future, they may be thinking, I do have an entrepreneurial spirit, but I need a business partner or 2 business partners to bring out some of these other traits.
Yeah, that's so great. And you're going to the perfect place, because what I then share in this confirm step is what I call the entrepreneurial range. Because if at first there's a sting because you realize you don't have the 6 essential traits, it's not necessarily a death sentence if you want to be self-employed. And so the entrepreneurial range works like this. And you can picture or write down, it's kind of fun to illustrate this, in an arc. And on that arc, to the far right side of the arc, if you write the words true entrepreneur, and on the far left side of that arc, if you write the word self-employed, everyone that has their own business is somewhere on that entrepreneurial range. And what I'm speaking to with these 6 essential traits are the true entrepreneurs, the people on the right half of that range, the people that start a business, build a business with lots of people. Those are the true entrepreneurs. So on the far right side, the entrepreneurs that redline that, these are the Elon Musks, Walt Disney, Henry Ford, Oprah Winfrey, Sarah Blakely's of the world. Let's go to the now far left side of that range. On the far left side, these are your 1-person shows, somebody with a side hustle, somebody who's a freelancer, somebody who's a coach or a consultant. Again, you're a sole proprietor, you're a 1-person show. And so every self-employed person is somewhere on that range. And that's where you out there need to do that self-assessment on yourself. And if you don't have the 6 essential traits, you're probably not going to build an empire. But it doesn't mean you can't go be self-employed. I always like to say, if you have handy skills, you can go out and be a handyman or woman, charge $60 an hour, make $100 grand a year for the rest of your life, and be busy forever in any economy. That's the power of that. And so the beauty of that is you're free, you're self-employed, it's your business, and that's okay. The point is, if you have the 6 essential traits, within about 5 or 10 years, you're going to have a construction company, because you can't stop yourself from building an empire, because that's just your God-given traits. So with that said, I want to then speak to 2 other things you said. If you don't have what it takes to become an entrepreneur, absolutely you can partner with a true entrepreneur. And there's a concept I teach called the visionary integrator model. I teach that in my book, Rocket Fuel. We can talk about that when and if we get to EOS stuff that you mentioned. But the point here is, a true entrepreneur, I call that a visionary. For a true visionary to grow to the next level, they need to be counterbalanced with an integrator. And so some of you out there are great integrators, and you need to find your perfect visionary entrepreneur match. And so that opportunity does exist for you. And here's the beauty. 4% of the world are entrepreneurs. There's only 1% of the world that are integrators. And so you are in demand. And so those are the opportunities. And then the other thing I would suggest, some people just shouldn't be anywhere near entrepreneurship or being self-employed. And if that's true about you, the good news is you get to check that box and say, that's not the career for me. Because at the end of the day, becoming an entrepreneur is just a choice you make. It's a career choice is really what it is.
Yeah.
And if that's not for you, there are 9,000 other things you could be doing. So, you know, it's progress toward figuring it out for yourself.
Yeah, no, that definitely is step one. The awareness element I think you're talking about is great. But I wanna kind of zoom into the person who is the entrepreneur, and I want to talk about that person is, you know, been laid off right now, Gino. They've been going through some tough times. They realize, you know, I think especially right now, people have tuned into their own personal values through COVID and realize, you know what, it's time, right? You never want to look back with regret. We were talking before we started. I wanted to start my own coaching business, and we met, you and I, right before I started it. Literally, like the day before-ish, I started it. And I remember an attorney said to me, "If you don't start your own business, you'll look back with regret." And for me, those were really important words. But now let's talk to the entrepreneurs who are thinking, "I'm ready to make the leap." Well, now there's that investment, right? They're making X amount of dollars. They need to look at financing, you know, ramp up time. And that, I think a lot of times people fall into that fear of lack of abundance, fear of making money, fear, right? It's not going to work. How do you get them over that?
Yeah, and it's such a great question. And I want to actually suggest that you're one step ahead of yourself, because there's something that needs to happen before that entrepreneur even starts to worry about all that stuff. Because let's go back to now the 3 parts of the book. First part is confirm. And like you're saying, let's pretend we've now confirmed that you are out there. You're an entrepreneur in the making.
Right.
Have the 6 essential traits. Please take the assessment, e-leap.com. You already put it up for everybody. Take that assessment there. You score 90 or higher. Odds are you are an entrepreneur in the making. Now we go to we go to Glimpse. And Glimpse is vital before we even talk about embarking on the path that you're describing. Because what I discovered and I realized is that if you truly are an entrepreneur in the making, what I do now is I show you a glimpse of all that is possible, all of your options, because I believe if I can create if I can create a context for you, your odds are going to soar that you'll be successful. And so what I do in this part of the book is I share countless real world stories so you can see entrepreneurs who were right where you are and how they built what they built and took their entrepreneurial leaps. Number 2, I show a day in the life, both heaven and hell, the dream and the nightmare. So you see the contrast. And sadly, most entrepreneurs live the nightmare. And what I teach are the 8 critical mistakes to avoid so that you live the dream. And again, to see that before you take the leap, your odds will soar. And then the third, and really the most powerful thing, is something I created called My Biz Match. And what it is about, and that's free on the website as well. You can fill it out in 20 minutes. But what this is about is before you leap, it's helping you figure out what you're built for, what you're drawn to, because every entrepreneur cannot be successful in every business. It's not possible. And so there's a business that you're built for. And the fallacy that the billion-dollar tech unicorn is like the only entrepreneurial journey, it's criminal. And that's all these people are hearing about, is that's entrepreneurship. Well, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with building a $3 million heating and cooling company that throws off a 20% profit. And so what My Biz Match does is it starts by helping you understand all of the industries that exist.
So smart.
Second, and the second thing it does is then it helps you understand the 3 types of businesses you have to choose that you're drawn to, because you're either a product entrepreneur or a service entrepreneur. I have utter disdain for product businesses. Inventory freaks me out. I get the heebie-jeebies staring at $1 million in inventory. So I'm a service entrepreneur. Everything I've ever built is service-based.
Yeah.
Next, you have to figure out, are you a B2B entrepreneur or a B2C entrepreneur? Do you love selling to businesses or do you love selling to consumers? Very, very different sales and marketing processes there. And then the third is, are you high value, high price, high cost, low volume? Or are you low cost, commodity based, high volume? Both work very, very well. You just really can't be both. And that starts to help you see what you're drawn to. So you're clicking on a bunch of things in My Biz Match, getting your answer. And then last, what's the size of the company you want to build? How big? Because again, that fallacy, you don't have to go build $1 billion tech unicorn. And so it's okay to have $1 million company, a $10 million company, $100 million. So what's the size that is your sweet spot? Yeah. And so for me, it's always kind of been 50 to 200 employees. That's my sweet spot. I don't want 1,000 employees. And so My Biz Match, free tool on the website, that will help you. And now we've accomplished Glimpse. You see all these options. You know the type of business you're drawn to. Now we can get into what you're talking about. Now we're about to make our leap. How do we now take a better leap with that glimpse firmly printed in our brain?
Well, what I love what you're talking about, Gino, is confirm and really kind of slow down and pause and really do your homework and really kind of get to know yourself. I mean, a lot of times people are, I hate my job, I'm going to start my business, but this really gives a roadmap and tool and really deep tools for self-reflection on many, many different levels to really decide what their next step is. I love what you're talking about there. I'm getting this saying wrong, but if I wanted to work 40 hours a week, I'd get a job. As an entrepreneur, you're really working, 50, 60, 70 hours. And so I want to just talk about the hustle and the grit.
Yeah.
Once you do all this, you take the test and you're like, you know what? I got it. It's in my DNA. I want to take the leap. But you're going to end up probably working more. It may not feel like work. I think, for me, I don't feel like I work at all. I'm so in alignment. I love what I do. It's my passion. But you're gonna put in more hours, and you're gonna hustle and grind it out still. So talk a little bit about that cycle.
Yeah, perfect timing on that question. So now we're into Path, and it's something I want to share as
I have a question for you. Is it confirmed Glimpse Path?
Yes, confirmed Glimpse Path. You got it.
Right.
So now, and the psychology here is you've confirmed that you're an entrepreneur. You've seen a glimpse. That glimpse lights you up, and you are ready. If you have these 6 essential traits, man, you are ready to go. And so now we go to Path, and there's some really important things in Path I share to help you take a better leap, greatly increase your odds of success, eliminate the odds of making a lot of mistakes. And so to your exact point, and then this little thing I want to anchor. There's something we call 1, 2, 3 roadmap. And what it is the 3 most impactful tools in Entrepreneur Leap to help give you a roadmap. And so I already shared number 1. There's 1 tool in each of these parts. So the first one was the assessment. That's number 1. Yeah. Number 2 is My Biz Match. Number 3 in Path is called My Vision Clarifier. It gets you to think about 8 aspects of your vision and the business you're about to build. And so that's free and downloadable as well. And so I want to anchor 1, 2, 3 roadmap as we pull these tools together, because the number 1 word we hear when an entrepreneur in the making does those 3 exercises is clarity. You will have absolute clarity. Yeah. And it helps calm those fears that you're talking about. But in this Path, I come at it a whole different way, because Path doesn't mean process. There's no perfect process for starting a startup, but the 1, 2, 3 roadmap will help you start a better startup, as I like to say. And so there is no perfect process or system. And if somebody's trying to teach you there is, I think they're misleading you, because there isn't one. It is the messiest, ugliest ride when you take your leap and you have no idea what's going to happen. And I like to say, so in my 30 years of experience in doing this, if there was a process, if you're really wanting one, it's 4 steps that I know are going to happen. Number 1, you're going to have an idea. Number 2, you're going to take your entrepreneurial leap. Number 3, you're going to get your ass kicked for 10 years. And number 4, you're going to emerge an entrepreneur, hopefully, because you've got about a 90% chance you'll fail in the next 10 years, if you look at the statistics. It's scary stuff. And I say all that to now get to your fear point, because when we get into Path, again, I take a different approach. I'm going to give you the high level on each chapter in Path, because what I do is I write an entire chapter on college or not. For anyone 17 or younger, you've got a decision to make if you're an entrepreneur in the making, a very important one. And I give you all the facts, but pros and cons. At the end of the day, it's a choice. Then we get into how to discover your passion, because the number one reason you're going to succeed is having a deep passion for something. From there, we get into how to find a mentor. Then I share the power of 10-year thinking, which I want to come back to because you kind of touched on that indirectly. And then I shared 8 disciplines for greatly increasing your odds of success. And then the 9 stages for building your company. And what I would suggest to you is, you know your audience better than I do. And if any 1 or 2 of those jump out at you as to, wow, my audience needs to hear more about that, let's go into that.
Yeah.
But that's path. And it's coming at it from a way of readying your mind, preparing you for what's going to happen, and helping you make some really great decisions, because you know each one of things are going to happen at some point. And so that's how path works.
Yeah. You know, to me, Gino, as I hear you describing the book, I think, you know, it's, and I keep on going back to this, but it really is, it sounds like one of the best raising awareness tools that every business owner really could use, even current entrepreneurs. And I'm a big believer, as you know, the same consciousness that got us to where we are is not going to get us to where we want to be, especially in this decade. It's just not going to happen. So we need books like yours to really just kind of evolve our thinking. So I can't even point to one piece, because I think all of those pieces do. But I do want to move to this, because I think fundamentally, right? Sometimes people will say to me, I'm a business coach, you know, do you compete with EOS? And I always say, no, I don't compete with EOS at all. EOS is an incredible tool. Many of my clients actually use EOS, and there's implementers that I actually work with, and we share clients, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
And so I want to rewind into the foundation of, once you have a business, you know, the simple things that you need to do to build the foundation that are complicated for many people.
Yeah.
And so when you've delivered over 1,900 EOS full day sessions. You're the creator of EOS. I know we're talking about your book, Entrepreneurial Leap today, but in a couple sentences to these entrepreneurs, I'd love to have you back another time. We can talk more EOS, but I know we wanted to focus on Entrepreneurial Leap. In a couple sentences, why is it important to have structure as the foundation of how you run and scale your business?
Got it. And before I answer that, I keep backing you up a step, because I got to back you up a step, because you said so much in that long streaming. I want to anchor some things. And so my obsession is, I'm a teacher at heart. And so I'm sitting here thinking about your audience, and I got to help anchor some things, because you said the first thing you said was so important and profound, because I wrote this book for an entrepreneur in the making at any age. Okay. I mean, literally 6 to 106. And so if you're out there, this book was written for you, but then you said something that I never anticipated happening, because I'm really obsessive about my target markets.
Yeah.
And what I realize is, to your exact point, my clients and other successful entrepreneurs that would read this book, it relights them up. I mean, it's like reading their autobiography, and it like recalibrates and centers them. So if you're a successful entrepreneur out there, read it. It's going to be a religious experience for you.
No, I bet. I gotta get it. I want to read it.
Yeah. And then the 2 other audiences I didn't anticipate, I was very obsessive about saying, I'm going to help you start a better startup. I'm going to take you to generating your first dollar. And then you're on your own, because in that startup messy phase, the only thing that's going to help you survive is that you have those 6 essential traits, because it's so messy and you're making shit up hourly. But ironically, for a startup, it's been a great checkup. So if you're, a month, a year, 2 years into your startup, it is a great checkup to make sure you didn't make any mistakes in your startup.
Yeah.
And then the final audience is anyone that loves helping entrepreneurs. This is the ultimate mentoring tool. This is truly pre-entrepreneurship. There's pre-law, there's pre-med. This is pre-entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So anyone that loves mentoring entrepreneurs in the making, I promise you, this is your content and your tool. Parents, guardians, teachers, professors, anyone with entrepreneurs in the making in their life, I created a teaching tool for you. And I have collaborators, and these are people that just want to teach my content. They teach it for free. No money changes hands. I just want them to give credit where credit's due. And so if you're somebody out there that has a passion for teaching entrepreneurs in the making, go to the website, click on the Become a Collaborator button, and join forces with me. You can use all or some of the content. Go have a blast with it. And so we're really changing lives. The goal is to impact 1 million entrepreneurs in the making. And so kind of working back to your question, I can't help but not talk about how when you came to my office 5.5 years ago, I was very impressed with you. I knew you were going to be my competitor. And so whenever I meet with somebody like you, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to become an EOS implementer, or you're going to go off and create your own thing. Because for people that have to create their own thing and they don't want to just follow someone else's system, that's okay, but you got to go off on your own, which is what my advice was to you. And then I taught you how to build a consulting business. But here's the beauty, and it'll let you into some of my philosophy. So I knew we'd be competitors someday. And I know you nicely say, oh, we're not competitors. And it sounds like there's a nice seamless fit there. But at the end of the day, we're competing for dollars with a client, whether we are or aren't. I just love this because here we are 5 years later. I've not heard your voice or seen your face since. So it's a proud moment because I had no doubt you were going to be successful. And competitor or not, I'm thrilled and impressed what you've created. And it's also just kind of cool that here we are 5.5 years later, chatting on a podcast.
But I remember, it's so funny. I remember what you said to me as I'm sitting here talking to you. I remember what you said to me. You said, John, just, get as many clients as possible and just get past the 3-year mark. I do remember that until as I'm sitting here talking to you right now.
Yeah,
but I do remember that. It was great. Well, it was, it's, you, your dad, your books, they have been an inspiration to me. Nice. And I love what you've done, what you continue to do, what you've built. We're both in the business of helping people grow, get unstuck, reach their potential, get to their next steps. There's so many people in the world that you and I can't help everybody. So I love that, we're here together talking about just how they can grow and help themselves. Gino, you ready for the speed round?
You bet. Sure.
All right. What's your favorite book and why?
Oh, man, that's a toughie. But I would say the one that probably had the most impact on me as an entrepreneur, because there's like 10 of them that come to mind when you ask that question. I'd have to say Think and Grow Rich. I mean, just fundamentally timeless class for somebody who thinks they're an entrepreneur. It's a powerful book to validate your thinking and shape your thinking.
Yeah, me too. I love that book. Best piece of wisdom. I met your dad many, many decades ago at Yes, a Positive Network. Best piece of wisdom your dad ever gave you.
Wow. Oh my God, there is so much. There isn't a day that goes by that one of his teachings, quotes, or phrases don't flash into my mind as I'm doing something. And I always go with whatever comes in when you ask the question, and it actually comes from Zig Ziglar, I believe, who was my dad's mentor. And so I've heard him say this a million times. It's been burned in my brain, and it's that quote that goes something along the lines of, you get everything you want out of life if you help enough people get what they want.
Wow. So important.
I heard that in my early 20s. Oh, it was like
Zig Ziglar. Yeah. No, he's the best. And fast forward 100 years, Gino, what do you want your legacy to be?
So the way I always say it is, 100 years from now, I want the world to know EOS. Okay. 10 years from now, I want the whole entrepreneurial world speaking visionary and integrator language, the small entrepreneurial business world, 10 to 250 people. But 100 years from now, that they don't need to know my name. I just want everyone to know EOS, run on EOS. The world's a better place when all the companies are running in EOS and working together and making a huge impact on the world. Yeah. So that would be it.
Gino, tell everybody where they can get a hold of you. Your website is going across the screen, and how they can get a hold of you, your ideal client, everything.
Yeah, sure. So the focus of this, what I was going to say to you as well as I was working my way back through your question, if you want to do an EOS podcast, Mike Payton, my co-author, the previous visionary of EOS Worldwide, is the one to do it with. So I don't do EOS podcasts or Rocket Fuel podcasts.
Yeah.
My two co-authors do those. So in terms of when you say get a hold of me, my client, this is all about Entrepreneurial Leap for me. And I'm on a mission to help 1 million entrepreneurs in the making. And so all things Entrepreneurial Leap are at e-leap.com. Again, there's a free assessment for you to take, the My Biz Match, My Vision Clarifier, a ton of tools, ton of free content, free chapter. And then if you're a collaborator, please go there for content to help the people in your life. And so all things you can find at e-leap.com.
I love it. Gino, this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed just getting to know you, hearing about what you're doing now, and the book, and just the whole, like, I'm going to call it a movement, right? And we need more entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs in today's decade need a roadmap. So kudos to you, for being a pioneer in that space. So thanks so much for being here. And Think Community, thanks for listening. If Gino can help you, go get his book on Amazon and check out his website. Thanks, Gino.
Thanks, John. It was a blast.